All right, here we go. Well, hello and welcome to our first Thursday night live. It is your girl, Coach Lauren Jackson, and I am super excited about our first Thursday night live. So this is going to be a great night tonight. So if this is your first time finding me some kind of way, um, whether it was by email, was whether it was by SEO search engines, a good friend sent you my way. Just know that you are meant to be here. If you're on this channel, if you're on this live, you are meant to be here. So I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to hop into tonight. We're going to be talking about how to rekindle the intimacy in your marriage. So I'm helping you move from roommates to soulmates, child. And I'm excited about the conversation tonight, especially because this has been one of those near and dear conversations. And real quick about me and what I do as a marriage and relationship coach. I work with Black couples on helping them heal from intergenerational trauma that's tied to guilt, blame, and shame, and help them create systems that solve the biggest problems in their marriage versus trying to fix the other person. And so, in doing this, this work that I have been purposed to do, I get to talk to a lot of couples about their marriage and how things going. And one of the big issues with our marriages right now is connection. A lot of us don't feel connected to our partners. And so tonight, if you have been feeling like you just in the marriage with somebody that you're paying bills with, child, you feel like this isn't really going anywhere, what we got going, this conversation is going to be for you tonight. Okay, if you have been feeling the disconnection in your marriage, not feeling connected to your partner, um, not having enough sex in your marriage, I know we're gonna touch on that tonight. This conversation is for the grown folks. Um, so we're gonna touch on that tonight because I am tired of seeing our marriages, our Black marriages, fail because, quite frankly, we are not happy in them, and not understanding, okay, what is really keeping us from being connected to the person we said I do too. So tonight I'm gonna break down three critical things to help you really jumpstart rekindling the intimacy back in your marriage. And what better time to do it? I mean, Valentine's Day is like what, a couple days away. So what better time to have this conversation than right now? So let me know where you're tuning in from tonight. Let me know if you're catching this live or you catching a replay. I definitely want to know where you tuning in from. And if this, my only ask tonight is if this live has been a blessing to you, that you be a blessing to someone else by sharing it. Definitely subscribe because you're gonna want to be here. If you are looking to truly fulfill all that God has called you to fulfill in love, life, and marriage, then I'm telling you, you're gonna want to be. This is gonna be your favorite place to be. The Oneness Institute is gonna be your place to be. So I'm excited about the conversation. So we're gonna get right into our conversation on tonight. I'm gonna get myself gathered up real quick. And y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. Make sure the content don't fall on deaf ears, as it shouldn't. However, I definitely want to make sure that you get all that you need to get from our conversation on tonight. So, without further ado, let's get into the conversation. So, Typically, I see this in my married couples. You've heard of like that seven, they call it the 7 year itch. I tend to see this roommate situation start happening around that 7 year itch time. Typically, after couples have either had children, um, and um, they've had children, they've had um, um, life challenges, more demand at work, and so typically what'll happen is you'll see this with couples in between that. I normally see it around the 7 to 10 year mark, and this is when couples are pretty much they got a lot going on. Life is life, and they have other responsibilities. Is no more just footsie anymore, right? And so with life challenges, it also brings challenges to the bedroom, and it also brings challenges to the marriage. And so a lot of times our big issue that I see happening in this space of the roommate syndrome is we become so busy that busyness becomes our culprit to our marriage. And I deal a lot with the Black power couples. So the people that you be like, oh, I want my marriage to be like that. I want this. I want what they have. They look like they have it all together. Oftentimes, those are the people I'm working with. And what you don't know, what's happening behind the scene, is that there's no connection, there's no communication, there's no spark, and we're just kind of splitting bills. And you got your schedule, I got my schedule. I'm doing this, you doing that, and we're just trying to make sure that the lights are on, the kids ain't outside, and we're just going about our life. But we're not doing it with our partner. We're just doing life, period. And so I want to help you get out of that space of just doing life where you are walking around on eggshells with your partner because you don't want to upset them, or you don't want everything to turn into an argument. You don't want to keep walking around on eggshells. You want to be with this person, and you're just going through the motions, and you're not really being fair. It ain't fair, and you ain't being fair. And so, yes, which they said, you're just going through the motions, facts. And so, one of the ways that, let's start out with understanding what is the roommate syndrome. So, the roommate syndrome is literally what it is, the place that you feel stuck with your partner, where you just feel like we're just doing things. And there's no more of the connection. There's no more communication. There's no date nights. Come on, somebody. We're not going on a date. Um, and we're not even shooting our shot anymore. Like, you remember what you was doing in the beginning when you was trying to get your person. You was texting, you was sending flowers, you was cooking for the man. Like, you were thinking about what he needed before he needed it. And now it feels like you're just coexisting. You're just coexisting, and you're not fully being present. That is the space that most couples find themselves in, right around that 7 year itch mark. And so I want to help you get past that. I want to help you move past that tonight. And I hope that this message and this conversation tonight, it blesses you. So feel free to drop questions, comments, and tap in, because of course if nothing changes, then nothing changes. So let's get into the conversation first about these busy routines, right? So, the power couple is always busy. And it's always we always got something to do. We're on the go. And listen, I can keep a good calendar myself, so I get it. But what happens when you're so busy showing up for everyone else that you neglect your partner? You're Johnny on the spot for everybody else, but you're neglecting your partner. Busyness is a sign of avoidance. Busyness is a sign of avoidance. And when I see people who say, I'm just too busy, we got all this stuff going on, we just busy. My number one question to couples is always, so what are you avoiding? Because the things that we prioritize, we prepare for, And we also set boundaries around things that you prioritize, you prepare for, and you set boundaries around. You prepare when it comes down on your kids. You're not too busy to show up to their recital. You're not too busy to sit in the rain for a football game. You're not too busy to take them to the doctor's appointments. So again, it's not that you're too busy. It's that this was no longer a priority. And the last time you tried to address something, it turned into an argument. So now you're just avoiding the whole conversation because you don't want to go through arguing again. And so busyness is our way, it's our cheat code way, but it ain't getting us to where we want to be, but it's our way of getting out of dealing with the real issues. And let me tell you, avoiding the issue doesn't make it go away. It still stays. It comes back, it finds us. It doesn't go away just because you're not talking about it. And so busyness is that area. And so I want you to think about that. How many hours a week are you spending with your partner? How many hours a week do you spend with your partner? And I don't mean we said good morning. He said he had to go pick this up. I got his dry cleaners. I cooked breakfast. Then we got no. I mean, we talked. We had some uncomfortable conversations. How many uncomfortable conversations are you having a week with your partner? Because the more uncomfortable conversations you have, the deeper your connection becomes. So most people want to run away from the pain. They want to run away from the uncomfortable conversations because they don't want to have to talk about what's going on. However, it's uncomfortable conversations that change the trajectory of your marriage. A lot of times when I work with couples and especially when there's infidelity in the marriage, the other person is so hurt by the infidelity. And I'm like, well, I mean, the infidelity is just a symptom. It ain't the illness. The illness is we don't make time for each other. The illness is we stopped connecting. The illness is we stopped communicating about the hard stuff. So the issue is not the cheating. The cheating is a symptom that said we're sick. The illness is that we don't have a system to solve this. We don't have a system to be able to communicate with each other. And so what we're doing is just, again, we just trying to make peace while living in pieces. And that is not what you said I do for. You did not sign up for this. If God would have told you 5, 10, 7 years down the line, you would be in a marriage where you're having no sexual activity. There's no romance. There's no communication. There's no proper covering. There's no spiritual. You wouldn't sign up for that. So I know you didn't get married just to get divorced. And I know you didn't get married to this person just to be miserable. Marriage does not equal miserable. But for a lot of people, it does. And it's because of these issues right here. The number one culprit, busyness. We think if we work ourselves to death, then all we have time to do when we come home is fall asleep. So we don't have to deal with your drama. We don't have to deal with your emotions. We don't have to deal with our own emotions. And that is just not real life. So I'm going to give you some cheat codes tonight that is going to help you. First, now that we understand what the roommate syndrome is, now we need to understand how to identify when we are in the roommate syndrome. So I'm going to give you these 5 signs to help you identify if your relationship, if your marriage is suffering from the roommate syndrome. 1, emotional distance. Your partner feels very disconnected. In the emotional distance, they don't feel emotionally safe with you. Typically, when I see the emotional distance issue happen is when we have guilt, blame, and shame. And so now your partner doesn't want to talk to you about certain things because you throw it back in their face, or you make them feel ashamed for even having that challenge, or you blame them for being the reason that the challenge is happening at all. And so what tends to happen is they no longer feel safe with you. So the moment there's emotional distance, this thing is already starting to go awry. Secondly, lack of intimacy. Your partners will start feeling less and less likely to want to sleep with you. Quite honestly, they don't want to have sex. So the physical affection becomes rare, or it just becomes mechanical. And what does mechanical look like? Mechanical looks like The Color Purple, when she said Master just want to get on top of me and do his business, it didn't feel like making love. It felt like what she said, like you just a toilet and you just sit on me to do your business, meaning it just became a chore to her and not a pleasure for her because there was no emotional connection. And I see this a lot with men. A lot of times I talk to a lot of men that are oftentimes sexually frustrated in their marriage. And don't get me wrong, I do have some women clients that feel the same way. But if we're looking at it from a hierarchy standpoint of who more so feels this way, oftentimes it's the man. And most men are that are married to the strong Black woman, they're trying to figure out how can she make time for all these other things, and then I'm left with nothing. I'm left with no connection. I'm left with no communication. I'm left with no touch. So I don't feel it. I don't feel like she's attracted to me anymore. So now I'm starting to get insecure and wonder, am I the problem? Is it me that she doesn't want anymore? And is this why we're not having sex? Well, for the men that follow me and listen to me, let it go. You may want to lean in. Okay. This is a cheat code tonight. Anytime that we are lacking in the intimacy space, oftentimes it's because we're lacking in the emotional, spiritual, or intellectual space. And we're going to get into that tonight. So trust me, you don't want to miss this. So let me go on to spot 3 on the issue. Sign number 3, communication. You start to argue about everything, the little things, and you struggle to bring up anything to your partner because it seems like everything turns into the wrong thing. You said the wrong thing. Now everybody mad, and so you can't connect when you can't communicate. You can't connect when you can't communicate. So that's another sign to let you know that your marriage is suffering with the roommate syndrome. Routine. Our partners begin to live their lives in this very individualized way. They have their routine and nothing can really come in between that. And they don't create space or carve out time to invest in their partner. They're so consumed with their routine, they're not consumed with the system. Is this routine working for the overall function of the family? And we don't think like that a lot of times. And so we use our routine as an scapegoat of why we can't do certain things with our partners, when the truth is you're just avoiding. And then the last, lack of priority. I hear this a lot from women. The wives complain about this quite a bit. And that is, they don't feel like a priority. They see you making everything else a priority: your job, your business, the kids, the church, your mom and them, your homeboy. Everybody else is a priority, but your partner is left as the chore or the afterthought. And so they're getting leftovers instead of first dibs, which is extremely unfair because this is the person that you pledged to do life with. These other folks are just passing through and they're passing by. And so what we'll tend to do is try to guilt trip our partners into almost guilt tripping them for feeling like they're not a priority, which is yet another reason that you are facing the issues you're facing in your marriage, and you're finding yourself living unfulfilled with the person you promised God you were going to fulfill life with. And so these 5 signs are oftentimes the quickest way I can already identify with the client where we're dropping the ball at. And so this is helping you tonight. If you are experiencing this or you feeling like, man, this is really good tonight, drop some fire in the chat. Let me know if this is helping you. As I know it's helping you, but I want to know if you think it's helping you, because that's all that really matters, right? It's what you believe. And so these are the things that really affect the overall function of the marriage. And so you have to see your marriage as this big system, this big business. And when you take it seriously and you realize your marriage is big business, then you don't allow every little thing to tamper with it. And so you've got to have something there that's going to position you guys to win. And so I want to help you. We talked about these 5 signs to let you know that you could be suffering, because I don't want you suffering in silence, suffering and you don't even know you're sick. But I want to get into how to overcome it. What are some things that you can do to overcome the roommate syndrome? So, one of the things that the first things that I'll tell you, there's 4 pillars to oneness. And those of you that are faith-based who follow the Christian faith, this is going to be very helpful to you. And even if you're not, this is still going to be very helpful to you. So, there's 4 pillars for oneness, and it is spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy. Anytime one of these 3 are lacking, physical intimacy is suffering. So I'm going to give it to you one more time. You want to look at our emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, and our spiritual intimacy. If any one of these 3 intimacies are lacking, then the physical intimacy will suffer. And so oftentimes I hear couples say, well, my partner just doesn't want to have sex with me. And they don't want to, like, we're not having sex. They don't want me to touch them. They don't want me to kiss them. They don't want anything. And it feels like I'm being punished for trying to love them, right? Trying to show my affection. And so some of the issues that you're facing, and especially when it comes down to the difference between men wanting sex and how women feel about sex, here goes the issue. Intimacy has everything to do with what happens outside of the bedroom. It ignites what happens inside of the bedroom. So if outside of the bedroom, you are being rude, you're being mean, you're not prioritizing your partner, you don't communicate with them, there's no love language thing going on, you're not feeding their love language, whatever their love language may be, you're not feeding into it. So if you're not depositing into the intimacy love bank, then you can't expect to come in and take a withdrawal. I'm going to say that one more time. If you are not depositing into the intimacy love bank, then you can't expect to come in and take out a withdrawal. You've put nothing into it. And so if you're only putting bare minimum into emotional intimacy, you're putting a little bit into spiritual intimacy and a little bit into the intellectual intimacy, I can guarantee you're not enjoying physical intimacy, especially if you're married to the strong Black woman. The strong Black woman is only strong because she survived. Oftentimes, because she is strong, and oftentimes because she's probably an overachiever, intellect is extremely, very sensual for her. Teach me something, show me something, expose me to something. That type of woman is looking to be in a marriage with a man who never gets comfortable learning her. She doesn't want complacency. She's mentally agile. And people that are mentally agile are people that are typically sapiosexuals. And those types of people enjoy knowledge. So what are you teaching me? And if you're not teaching me something, then what are we doing? And not just teaching me anything, but teaching me things that are in alignment with my goals, or just walking alongside me. It will go a long way. So this is an area that oftentimes I tell men, you've got to be willing to lead in these areas. Spiritual intimacy. Spiritual intimacy is not just we go to church together and I go with her to church. That you could stay home, quite honestly, if you're not going to practice the faith, you might as well stay home and let somebody else get the seat at the church who want the knowledge. So spiritual intimacy is all about relationship. It's no different than God. He wants relationship, not religion. He doesn't want this routine thing that you come and tell him, which is half the time not the truth, and the other half of the time you don't really care. That's not what God wants. He wants to know the real and raw you. So does your partner. So praying together at night goes a long way. Because again, we're talking about marriage. In marriage, sex is a form of worship. It's not a form of sin. It's a form of worship. And it is also a bonding activity that keeps you connected with your partner so that you are not easily broken. But when we are not doing this activity that helps to drive oneness, then what happens? Division is driven. You're divided by division. And so this is a big issue in our families and in our marriages, is that we don't realize that. And then so that's your spiritual intimacy. Are you praying for your wife? Are you praying for your husband? A lot of times we're complaining about our spouse. We're not praying for our spouse. And so what's happening? Nothing. You're complaining, it ain't changing. He acting out, that ain't changing it. Why wouldn't you pray about it? You said that what God put together, let no man put asunder. So why aren't you praying about it? And being real and raw with your person. This person is the person that you should be able to feel naked and unashamed in front of. But the moment you feel so ashamed with them that you're not giving them the raw you, then they don't know how to deal with the real you. And now they're in question of everything that you do, say, and believe. So it makes it a struggle to lead when there's, again, we're not putting stuff into this box. And then let's go to the last piece, right? The emotional safety. A soft tone turns away wrath. We find that in the book of Proverbs, the book of wisdom. But a lot of times we think that that's just for women. That's not just for women. That scripture, that a soft tone turns away wrath, is literally trying to teach us how to not be easily angered so we can be understood. So if you're so easily angered, then I don't even get to understand you, because when you're angry, you're just spewing out things that are quite honestly unacceptable, and most times not really the truth. You're just angry, and now you're just shooting. You're trigger happy, and you're shooting off at me. And so that is so unfair to your partner, and honestly, it's unfair to you, because you're still locked up. Now they think you're mad about something that you're not even mad about, and your real problem is not even resolved because you decided to take the angry way out. Again, this is the same person you said I do to. And so anytime, and the Bible speaks of this in Genesis, anytime there's a lack in emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, or spiritual intimacy, there will be a deficit in physical. And so who wants to just get on top of you and do their business? That doesn't feel connecting. This is a connecting activity. And it's one that you should do often. I mean, you pay your tithes and you go to church and you try to be nice to people. I mean, you say you want to please God, but one of his ways of pleasing him is through worship. And what better worship than him seeing you stay and reconnect with your partner? This person is the person that God has provided for you to be your covering, to make sure that the enemy does not kill the reason that you guys came together. One of the things that I think we oftentimes don't think about in marriage is the purpose. And we let the problems override the purpose. And anytime we start letting the problems override the purpose, then we forfeit the present. And the present is the gift, the present. The present is the favor, the gift that God gave you. And so the goal is to hold on to the purpose so that when the problems come, you have a way to solve those. You have a way to get through those together. But you can't do it if you're not communicating and if you're not being vulnerable and honest with your partner. And when I say be honest, I don't mean be rude. I don't mean to diminish who they are, or to diminish their value, or call them out their name because you're mad. That is childish activities. And childish activities are oftentimes met with repercussions that you can't afford. So really thinking about this thing, how are we showing up? How are you showing up in your marriage with your partner? And so when we talk about how can we overcome it, we talked about praying together, right? Focusing on gratitude. Let me tell you something. Thank you goes a long way. And I say this a lot of times to my offended, we be in offense, us strong black women. We do not like to always say, I'm sorry, or not just say, I'm sorry, but just say, baby, thank you. I, I can speak from experience. I recall being married, and those of you that have followed my journey um, are new here. I was married for 10 years, and I can honestly say that a lot of times when we get into marriage and we are with our partner for so long, we start to get to the point where we just expect things, right? We feel entitled. So when we have an entitlement issue, which is connected to a pride issue, which we know pride comes before the fall, what begins to happen is we're no longer thankful. There's no more gratitude. We say stuff like, I got to thank him for picking his child up from school. I got to thank him for doing this. This is what you should be doing. Well, you thank God every day. And don't you feel like he should wake you up this morning? And he should start you on your way, and he should let you have the activity of your limbs. You don't tell God, like, you shouldn't have to thank him for that. Do you feel that same way? Whatever you praying over your food and you about to eat it and you say grace? No. So why is it that the gratitude that we give to God easily, we don't give it to our partners at all? Or we want to give it to them sparingly, or we want to give it to them when we feel like they deserve it. Imagine if God only gave you things when you deserved it. How many of the things you have today would you still have? How many? Think about it. Would you have the house you have? Would you have the cars you have? Would you have the career, the money, the family? Would you have those things? I think a lot of times when we get out of gratitude, we get into entitlement. And because again, we're just going through the motions, we don't feel like I should have to tell him that. I don't feel like I should tell her, thank you for cooking tonight. Why not? You would tell her, thank you for cooking tonight if God let her have a stroke. And now she can't walk, she can't talk, she can't do anything for herself. You would be giving anything to hear her say good morning to you again. You would give anything to have her cooking whatever her favorite cooking, what her meal is. You would have anything. See, sometimes we get so used to what God has given us that we start misusing what God gave us. And that is how we get into this issue. So gratitude, ladies and gentlemen, it goes a long way. And if you want to see your man continue, I'm gonna speak to the ladies on this. When you want to see your man continue to do that thing and show up fully, thank him. Thank him for the things you want to see him continue doing instead of scolding him for the things you don't see him doing. Thank him more than you scold him. Because this is the thing. What we give gratitude to is what God even allows to happen in our lives. So your words carry so much power. Your tone keeps the receipts. So when you think about how does your spouse like to be challenged, the goal of these conversations don't need to be to just diminish who they are. Oh, you don't never do nothing. You did it. It's not. That's not what this is for. If you wouldn't let somebody on the street disrespect your spouse, then why are you disrespecting your spouse? You should be the model of how others should treat your gift. Your partner is your gift. So God gave you this present. He gave you this gift. How are you treating it? So if you're not going to let somebody else disrespect them, you shouldn't be disrespecting them. And yes, it is okay to tell them thank you, even for the little things. You know why? Because sometimes people just need to hear it. That's depositing into the love bank. So when you do have to challenge them and say, baby, these are some areas that I think, I believe if you improved on, we could see growth in this area of our marriage. He can take that on. You know why? Because you've been consistently depositing into his emotional intimacy bank. So he knows that what you're saying to him is out of love. He knows that what you're doing for him is out of love. She knows that. But if you are giving rude more than you're giving love, that's going to be very hard for you to get on the same playing field. So it's very important that you do take the time to just say thank you. It's not going to kill you. And then here goes the last but not least thing: ask for help. It's okay. 77% of Black couples in America, one of the reasons they do not work with counselors, therapists, coaches, is because they do not feel emotionally safe in order to have uncomfortable conversations, even with a stranger. So, what happens when you're locked up with you? What happens when you don't have anybody to help push you and coach you and challenge you out of the space you're in? What happens? So, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it is actually a sign of strength, because great leaders hire people that are better than them in the things they're only good at. That's how you go to the next level. And sometimes we do need a mediator to come in and say, no, this is what I'm hearing. No, this is not it. Let's give some context to this. Because why? You need godly wisdom, someone that you can trust who's going to be able to be honest with both of you. When I coach clients, I tell them all the time, I'm not here to fix your marriage. I'm here to fix your system. The reason most Black people don't want to go to therapy, they don't want to talk about their problems, depending on the age group, is because they think they're broken and something is wrong with them. Nothing's wrong with you. It's something wrong with your system. Your partner isn't the problem. The problem is the problem. The problem is we don't have structure. The problem is we don't have a routine system to get us results of satisfaction. So because we don't have a way of getting satisfaction, we're dissatisfied and we're diseased with our partner. And now we're divided with the person you were supposed to stay connected to. All because we got complacent. All because we decided to weaponize sex. All because we decided to stay in unforgiveness. All because we wanted to be justifiably upset. Is it worth it? Is your ego worth it? Is your pride worth it? I want you to really think about that tonight. Create space for your partner. I'm a calendar user girl. I always tell people, listen, for those of you that are in business, this gonna be your best place, okay? And if you're an objective thinker, this is gonna be your favorite place. But one thing that I always say is that in business, we understand that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. There always has to be a check and a balance because no one's perfect. And we have to have a way of measuring. And so the calendar gives commitment. Baby, I put it on the calendar. We're going to be doing this tonight. Especially if you're busy. Busy people keep calendars. So if you have a calendar, you know what time you got to go to work. And if you're an entrepreneur, you probably work all kind of hours of the day. You work harder for yourself than you do for other people, building a legacy that's going to outlive you. So it takes a lot more. So with your partner, put it on the calendar. So everybody knows that this is what we're doing tonight. This is where my focus is. This is important to me. That lets your partner know they are priority because you put everything else on your calendar. That's a priority, except them. So it's important that if you're going to live a life with your person that is fulfilling and exciting and something that's going to grow you, that you got to implement these things. I'm also going to give you a last little tidbit tonight. And next week, we're going to be talking more about how emotional disconnection. We're going to deal with emotional disconnection and how it does not mean your marriage is over and how to restart again. And one of the things that I do with my couples is I have them implement this rule. And this rule was actually created by this relationship expert. Her name is Dr. Laura Berman. And this rule is a 2-2-2 rule. So The 2-2-2 rule, so it's just 3 2s. Every 2 weeks, there's a date night. And the other person, we alternate date nights, okay? The other person plans. So we alternate. We both have equal share in this. So it's every 2 weeks, a date night, every 2 months, a weekend getaway, and every 2 years, a 1 week getaway with just you and your partner. So I'm gonna say it again. The rule is called 2-2-2. And if you Bible scholar person, faith-based, Amos 3:3 says, how can two walk together unless they agree? Okay, so two is an agreement number biblically. So every 2 weeks, we're going on a date night. And each person gets to choose. So one 2 weeks out the month is yours, another 2 weeks is your partner's. Then every 2 months, we're going on a weekend getaway somewhere. And again, this is alone. We're not going with friends. We're not going on no trip with our cousin. No, that is not considered. That is not it. Okay. This is about you and your person. So every 2 months, you go. So every 2 months pretty much essentially turns into once a quarter. Just say you started in January. So once a quarter, every week, every 2 months, you're going on a vacation weekend getaway somewhere. And then every 2 years, you're going away for a week. And so couples who implement this have seen a great increase in fulfillment in their marriage, and they're living happier and fulfilling lives because they're not in anxiety. When your partner doesn't know when they can spend time with you, when can we have sex, when can we talk about the issues that we're avoiding, when we don't know when, your partner is filled with fear and anxiety because they don't know when. It's like that Babyface song. When can I see you again? When can my heart beat again? When can I live? Like, he listen to the lyrics. He's like, when? Just tell me when. When can I? Because if I don't know when, then I'm always stuck in this place of fear because I don't know when. And so when we don't want to make the commitment by saying when, then that tells your partner you got commitment issues because you don't know when. And if you manage your time, you can manage your life. But that comes with creating rules, routines, and boundaries. And that happens in the form of a system. And a system is not just one person, it's about the whole team. All things have to work together for the good. That's a system. Everything has to work. We can't have a break over here and a little over it because it won't work. And so if you have been feeling like, this marriage isn't working, this isn't working, I challenge you to, well, what have you done consistently? Take an audit. Look at your emotional intimacy bank. How much is in there? Check the balance on your intellectual intimacy. How much have you learned about your person? How much have you learned about anything? What books are you guys reading together and unpacking together? What activities are you doing together? Couples that do things together stay together because they're working on something together, meaning they are growing. If you're no longer growing, you're dying. Faith without works is dead. So if you ain't dead, you need to be working the faith. There's no real retirement when you are doing this thing God's way. Your retirement is called the cemetery. Rest in peace. So I really want to challenge you with that tonight, to really look at the bank statements of your intimacy. Where are you emotionally? How much is in there? Where are you spiritually? How much is in there? Where are you intellectually? How much is in there? Where are you physically? How much is in there? And I'm going to end out and I'm going to land my plane here for those of you that have been with us tonight, because this has been so fruitful. And I really pray that it blesses those of you that really need to hear it. And that is this: the sexual act of intimacy is a part of oneness. So your husband doesn't just want to have sex. That's what women say. He just want to have sex all that. That's not the truth. He wants connection. And back in the old days, in the Bible days, back in Genesis 2, when there wasn't no marriage license and jumping the brooms and all this other stuff we got today, there was three ways that marriage was formed. The commitment was made into oneness. One of the first way was a man had to leave his family, leave his mother and father, and cleave to his wife. Secondly, the wife had to also come into agreement with the vows, right? We're making vows of what we're going to do, that there is an agreement, that she's agreeing to be with you. And then the third was them having well, the Bible calls it consummating, which we know by definition is sex, making love. They consummated the marriage. And so in consummation, oneness happens. Why? Because it is a literally a soul connection. Spirits are intertwining in all things, which is why when you're with someone for so long, you begin to sound like them, laugh like them. Your mannerisms, you pick up some of their mannerisms. Why? Because you've come into oneness with them. And that is why when we have multiple partners prior to being married, we find that there's so much unlearning that we have to do, because now we're taking in oneness with a person that we were never going to do life with. We laid down with somebody that we weren't going to let lead us. Come on, somebody. I know the women over there just triggered now. And so that is a form of oneness. So please do not just think that, oh, he just want, no, or your wife, because I have women who are in sexless marriages. And typically, again, it happens between that rim of that 7 to 10 year shift, because now we got kids, now we got roles and other things, responsibilities, and we put that above and before our partner. And that is so unfair, because this is the person that you said I want to do life with. And so I hope that you get to implementing some of these strategies, tips, and tools that I gave you tonight, these rules that I gave you to live by, and make sure that that you don't just pass by here. Subscribe to this channel. If this has been a blessing to you, subscribe to the channel, share this share this channel, share this video, and leave a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know, how did you feel about it tonight? Let me know, did it bless you tonight? Because I want to continue to bring us content, especially for our Black couples who are trying to make this thing work. Because quite honestly, the reason other cultures are crushing the game when we look at the wealth gap is because they understand partnership. Most of them have partners. They're married. And so they get to build wealth. And as the Black community, we've got to start building wealth. But you can't build wealth if you have a high turnover. If every time you turn around, you get a new husband or a new wife and a new husband and a new wife. The biggest expense to every business is payroll. It's employees. So when you constantly churning and burning through folk because you can't seem to make it work, so you can't make it last, you are spending a lot of money. The average divorce in America right now in the US is $15,000. And I said the average. That may not be your number. And so that's just talking money. We ain't even got to the emotional disparities and the social issues and all the other relational issues and the healing you got to go through. We ain't even touched that. That is why we are in the bottom of the totem pole. When we talk about Black couples, why we're at the bottom of the totem pole in wealth and legacy and creation of wealth, it's because we can't keep partners. And so partnership is the cheat code to having a fulfilled life. And so I want to see us really get this together, because if we don't, studies are already showing that by 2053, our net worth for the Black community will be zero. That means we only got 28 years to get this right. You only got forever to get this right with this person. So this is bigger than just you. because your children are watching you. They're looking at how you are treating their mother, how you're treating their father. They are going to model what you show them, not just what you tell them. So if you think, well, I told them this, but you showed them something else, they get to choose now which way they want to go because you're confused. And a double-minded man is wayward in all of his ways, meaning you can't make a decision. You're confusing. And so this is bigger than just us. This is why we got to get this stuff right. This is why we got to have the right systems that support our marriage so we can have fulfilled lives, not just in the bedroom, but financially, not just financially, but emotionally. Legacy is tied to it all. And I want us to get this thing right because I'm tired of seeing us getting it wrong. So I'm excited about the content that's going to be coming out. If you have not already subscribed, hit that button, baby, and listen. Let's start going together. Let's start growing together. And I want to see you win in this thing called marriage and master the art of living as one. So it's been my time tonight to be with you. I will be with you every Thursday night right here on YouTube at 7:30 p.m. Drop in hot, helpful content and information that is literally going to add a deposit to your intimacy bank. So I'll talk to you soon and I'll see you next week on purpose. Good night.